Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
Jim Sifuentes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, I love going back to the beginning. I always say at the beginning, chart our trajectory in life, our little habits that we pick up along the way, follow us into our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And, has music always been the goal?
First of all, I come from a good Mexican-American family. There was 10 of us.
Nice.
And music was always a part, whether it was listening to my relatives play Mexican music, or my father, who my mom and dad grew up in the Depression and listening to the big bands, Sinatra, Glenn Miller, and the influences of that. And lo and behold, growing up with 10, you have a variation of different types of music, from Beatle music, which is near and dear to my heart, which was my biggest influence, to my sisters in the neighborhood. We grew up in the back of the yards, really the back of the stockyards, and listening to the Dells and Delphonics via them, right? Yeah. Or in the 70s when I was in high school, I got into Parliament and Funkadelic, Lakeside, and all that, and to the pop rock or the new wave music that came through and all that time, and the beginning of rap, which it was interesting to watch that. So growing up and having that music kind of all around me, it was great. But without a doubt, one of the biggest influence, because my father, God love him, in the 60s, loved the Beatles, brought his albums, and in the 70s, I got exposed to it.
Nice.
And because of that, never stopped to want to pursue music as something that was near and dear to me.
Nice. I love that. So do you feel like you found your purpose?
I did. I think music has been a soulmate of mine. And even though I took a hiatus for almost 40 years from it, because I went a different route and became an executive and did my work, through all my life history and through all my experiences up until today, I can tell you when I've composed a song, what was happening in my life, good, bad, sad, happy. And in the lyrics that I wrote with my brother, well, I wrote, but my brother and I composed, I could tell you what was going on in every aspect of my family and every aspect of my life, for the most part.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Tell me a little bit about the, influence and the, the process of making this, this amazing, song, Summertime, song.
Yeah. One of the influences, when being influenced by Lennon and McCartney, I would always tell people I'm more a fan today than when I was younger. And what I mean by that, nice. I would listen to them, and my brother would listen to my brother Bill, and we'd say, oh, amazing. How did they always have a hook? How is it always catchy? Whether you like them or not, you can walk away and say every song they seem to have had a hook. And so the influence was always, if I'm going to write a song, I'm going to use them as, because in my eyes, they were mentors to me unknowingly, right? They also were the marker of what a great song could and should be. Yeah. And so when I did Summertime, I can recall making that, and my daughter Amanda at the time said, God, I love that, Dad, you should finish it. And it was, all I had was, it's summertime, summertime. That was it. When I decided to do the album, it was in March, and in Chicago, it's still heavy winter, heavy cold.
Yeah.
And I knew it would take me a year to get it done. And I said, okay, the album's going to come out basically in April. That was the goal that I set. And I said, perfect timing, because I will have done a whole album. Summertime will lead it off, and a tribute to all the years that I was writing music. And the song in and of itself, I try to capture, for those that live in the Midwest, probably even in the East Coast, how you long for summer, because those 4 months that you get that warm weather, you are so happy about it because you're always indoor. And God, people love winter. I did when I was younger. But you long for summer. You get to wear loose clothing. Everybody's out. In Chicago, you're by the lake or you're downtown, or even in the backyard. You get to stay out late. It's light out. And I wanted to figure out, how do you capture that essence, that beauty, and put it into a song? And so Summertime came out.
Love that. That's beautiful. You know, I was reading your bio, and one thing I took away from is that you have such a resilience, and so strong and such a positive outlook on life. And I, with all the ups and downs that you face, I think that also goes into your music, right? If you feel like the more life, like zest to live life, going through things that you went through. Tell me a little bit about that of like, your journey, and that marks by resilience, by surviving cancer twice. And how did that influence the emotional depth of your music?
In every way it did. At 50, I'm 61. I was feeling good.
You look amazing. You look amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, I feel good. Going to, because I have a cough, and all of a sudden I get diagnosed with Hodgkins lymphoma. And for the first time in my life, I realized life has an end, finality, because I didn't know what was going to happen there. I was scared.
Yeah.
But I was able to go through, get treatment, and successfully beat Hodgkin's lymphoma. But the marker on that was to know that life can change in a moment's notice, and it did. Mm-hmm. And I continued to work. I was continuing to do my thing. I was happy that I was able to kind of get through that and beat it. Then as I was 60 years old, after 19 years as an executive at a hospital, I was let go, I was fired. And as a Mexican-American, work is value. I mean, my identity.
Yeah.
And when I was told I wasn't going to get a reason for it, and you weren't going to get a severance, and c'est la vie, it blew my mind. And that happened in July of 23. And January of 24, I had a heart attack.
The 6-part series is a deeply moving audio docuseries that confronts the often hidden trauma inflicted by institutional religion, sharing stark, real stories like shattered faith, voices unheard, preacher's kid, and unveiling darkness. Inspired by Meosha's own loss and featuring testimonies from survivors and experts, this series not only exposes the wounds caused within sacred spaces, but also illuminates a path toward healing and reconciliation. Available now on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Bandcamp, and more. Church Hurt invites listeners to listen, understand, and heal.
After that heart attack, I survived, thankfully, because one of my major valves was 99% clogged. I fell asleep and I woke up, and they said, it's usually a widowmaker where you don't get up. And I got up.
Wow.
After that, I said, okay. I let music go for a long time, because in my 20s, I was playing in a band. I was composing songs. On and off, I composed, but nothing really. And for many years during my 30s, early 40s, I just didn't play, period. And I said to myself, I want to leave my children, my 2 daughters, music. And there's a part of me that people didn't know I did it at this level, outside of my brother, that we can compose and we can sing. And then I did what I always do when I set a goal: write it down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start this goal. I'm going to get it. And then I bring a group of people close to me and I say, I'm going to do an album. I'm going to have it done in a year. And it's said for me to keep myself honest about a goal. Mm-hmm. And I've always done that. And after I did that, quite honestly, you know what I thought about it? I said, I'm 60 years old. Can I still sing? I haven't been playing, and I wasn't the greatest musician. I can compose and I could sing, but I hadn't sung. And I said, darn it, I don't care. Heart attack, cancer, I'm going to get it done. And it was a stretch goal, to say the least, but it was internally calling me, because really when all this stuff happened, I was down and out.
Mhm.
And what happened, I realized music had never left me. I kind of like closed the door. And once I opened it again, music came back and did what it did. It gave me
Wow.
life. It provided purpose. It said, you can do this. And even if people don't think you can, and even if you don't think the music's relevant, we're going to do it together and let's see what happens. And along the way, I started practicing from March until I went into the studio for the first time in November. And divine providence, I go to a quinceañera in September, right before that. And I meet this young kid who's his mom invited me, and he's playing for his sister's quinceañera band, and they have a DJ. So I go up to him and I say, God, you guys sound great. His group tummy aches. And I go, I love it. And I tell him, I'm going to go into the studio in November, just talking music.
Yeah.
He comes back at the end of the night. He goes, hey, Jim, is it okay if I tape you in the studio? And I'm like, okay, great. I thought he was just going to come with his Apple phone, do a little recording for himself.
Yeah.
He walks in, and it's a whole production. He's got it was a Netflix production.
Wow.
I didn't realize his love for it. He's now going into his freshman year in the fall at Northwestern University.
Nice.
For this very area. And what happened was he was able to capture me recording the whole album from November up and through, even through last month when we performed out. And little did we know that in January, I would get this pain on my side of this year. And in February, I got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4.
Wow.
And at that point, a decision had to be made. Do you just stop the album, give up, and move away? Because there's a lot of reasons to do that. You got to put closure to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to continue to work? All the rest of those questions and all these other challenges. Can you sing? You're going to go into chemo. And a lot of reasons I finished it and did it. One is because I don't like to not finish a goal, number one.
Yeah.
It's a little different, right? You got this major diagnoses.
Mm-hmm.
And two, people say it's a death sentence. I go, not for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it's an opportunity. It's a gift. And here's what I mean by that. Don't get me wrong. Who the hell wants cancer? But it allowed me to say, okay, I knew life was finite at 50 because I got that cancer. I knew when I had that heart attack, I was lucky to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm in a mode where, okay, I might have a shortened life, possibly, unless a miracle happens. But now I know I can make ends with things that I want to. I can tell people I love them.
Mm-hmm.
And if I've always done it, but more intentionally. And I was going to finish this because I said I wanted to leave something, a legacy for my children and for my family. And I had a gift of music. I wanted to share it with the world.
Yeah.
And so we moved forward with the documentary. And when I went into the Park District, I started that past year. I met Matt Riggin, who was a music instructor at one of my parks. And he is a multi-purpose, incredible musician who is degreed in brass. And I told Matt, I have this song, The Memory. He didn't know me. I said, I have this lick, dun, 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 dun. But I always said that sound would be good, like a Glenn Miller song.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. And he says, I can do that for you. And he goes, I go, and I'm looking for a drummer. He goes, I play drums too. And it just fell into place. He ended up playing the percussion on my music, the brass. I played the guitar. I played keyboards, bass. My brother came in and played some of the rhythm and some of the lead as well. And that led into the album. Interesting enough, when I was diagnosed in February, they wanted me to start chemo early March. I told them I can't. And I know the doc looked at me and I said, I got a project I have to finish.
Right.
And in my head, if I start chemotherapy, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do what I needed to do. And at that time, I only had 2 songs recorded, me and Matt did in November. I only got 2 songs. One, because I was doubting myself as a musician singing. And by the time November finished, I said, I got it. I can do this. We're going to finish the album and do 4 songs per session, whatever. And when we went into the studio in March, the first time, the engineer, who is Doug Malone, Jam Deck, great, calls me up, Jim, I'm sorry, my mom's ill. She's in a hospital. And he lived in Midwest Illinois, so he couldn't be there. So he had to cancel. Right before chemo, I have one more session to go in. I get sick.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh my God, we're able to lay down 6 songs. I sing on it and I tell him, I goes, it sounds good. I go, it doesn't sound good. You can tell I got a sore throat. I don't feel well. And so I said, Doug, I'm going to come in the day when you got an opening. And it was the day after my first session of chemo. And I said, I'm there. I'm going to sing these songs over. And so I go in, and for those 6 songs, we knocked it out. And then I came back again in April to finish the other songs. We got 11 songs recorded.
Wow.
And I'm happy with what happened, even with all that was going on, the doubt and then the confidence coming back, knowing the songs were going to be good, trying to finish all these songs, only have a one-time shot. It's not like I'm there 3 times. It was like I was finishing these songs on my Logic, giving it to my brother and Matt, say, here's what we're going to do. Here's how I want you to play.
Yeah.
Are you passionate about film and in-depth conversation? Look no further. MVB Films Productions now offers exclusive access to unedited, unfiltered interviews and film content through our Patreon. Join for just $5 per month and unlock candid commentary, behind-the-scenes footage, and projects you won't find anywhere else. Hosted by Meosha Bean of Creator to Creators, this membership gives you a front row seat to the creative process. Become a member today. Patreon.com, Meosha Bean Official.
And knowing that this diagnosis is there, because people say, going to stop working, which I haven't. I'm still working. And are you going to be able to do it? And I go, yeah, I'm going to finish this. So we finished 11 songs, but I said we're going to do 12. So what I did was take one of the songs that my brother and I recorded when we were in the late 80s, early 90s. Can't remember the time frame. That picture on the album is when we looked like that. And so I grabbed that song Rumors and put it on the album. One, because my daughter said, I love that song, Dad. You should do it again. We didn't get a chance to re-record it. And I said, it still sounds good. And it fits within the framework of what I wanted for summertime.
Nice.
And it did. And so that was kind of the progression of all of it. And stories behind the songs are there. But that was a challenge. And I have to say, right now at 61, I can confidently say I'm just happy that album came out. I look at it and blessed by Diego being able to document. He's going to do a documentary on it. Beautiful. Matt coming into play, my brother coming back to help, and myself, resurrecting myself from the depths of, where I was at, and still having that and choosing to live and choosing to be fully alive as best as I can until today. And I am. And actually, it's summertime in Chicago. And I love it. Listen to the song now. It's like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted. Capture that, right? And so that's where I'm at.
That's beautiful. Wow, that's beautiful. And that documentary is going to be incredible. Yep. Incredible. How and I'm just curious, what was it like performing the acoustic version of your song at the Park District listening event?
It was great. And it was interesting because my staff at the parks came in and said, we're going to do a listening session. I go, what is that? And they go, we're going to have, people come out, we're going to play your album. And then I realized they wanted me to do some version of it. And there's only 3 of us. And I haven't played in 40 years on stage. And I pull out my Hofner bass. And there's a story about this Hofner bass. When I was in high school, I was going to get kicked out my freshman year, first year semester. I remember meeting with my mom. I was in the seminary system. And the priest says to me, the rector says, you're going to get, you're on probation. I go, what's probation? What does that mean? Basically, he told my mom, he's going to be kicked out if he don't turn his academics around. My mom knew me so well, God love her. And 13? She says to me, if you make the honor roll every semester moving forward, I'm going to get you, because she knows a Beatle fan, I'm going to get you that Paul McCartney Beatle bass.
Nice.
And I was like, what? Well, I got it. And I graduated, it was 10 of us. I didn't get it at graduation. I got it like 4 years later. I didn't care. And when I played in the band, I played it. So when I went out to play at the park, I pulled that baby out. It still worked, kept it in good shape. And it was great to be and holding that again, because that's when my brother and I played in the band. And to hear that Liverpool sound again playing on there, it was great, because I used a different bass when we recorded. But for the outside and going out there and being in front of people again, it was fantastic. I had people from all aspects from when I worked in my past in the recreation, the hospital were out there, family and friends, and park people came out. And the venue was beautiful. Marquette Park, they had this great venue where you perform. And it was such a great afternoon. It was exciting. And I was happy because the music sounded great, even if it was just three of us, because really we should have had a keyboardist and another guitar player. But we pulled it off. It was an acoustic style. So I have to say this, it was fantastic and I felt great.
I love that. I love that. Well, I love asking this question to every guest, and there is no wrong answer, I promise. The three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
I would have to go with respect at this point in my life. And what I mean by that, respect of life, respect to the gift that I got.
Mm-hmm.
The saddest part would have been if I didn't go and fulfill this dream, then I would have not respected the gift that God gave me.
Mm.
It goes out to people and people like it, but it's a gift that I had. And the respect that I give myself to my children to say, no matter what challenge you have, respect your gifts, respect what you have, believe in it. And no matter what's in front of you, don't let it stop you.
Love
And
that.
when the time comes when it does stop, that means time's out, right? And
Yeah.
that's okay. So I would say respect in that aspect, how I frame it, and the respect to life, to my music, and to me, and to honor the challenges that were facing me and still to be able to overcome them, regardless of what was and still is surrounding me.
That's beautiful. Wow. Did you ever imagine that your career in the public service would one day intersect with your music, collaborations with colleagues?
Quite honestly, no.
Really?
Um, I didn't. I wanted to always do my music. My brother and I would say, we're going to go back in the recording studio when we're in our 20s and our 30s. And we did. Let's get, and life happens. You know,
Yeah.
he's pulled somewhere. He's got a family. I have a family. I was working crazy, as an executive. And all this happened. And when it came back, it's almost like God just put it together. Not to get
Yeah.
religious or anything, but
That's okay.
love came together. Given all these challenges, he says, okay, you got these challenges, and you can choose to go down, or you can say, what else have I given you to kind of make it through? And I'm also going to give you some gifts. I'm going to give you the ego. I'm going to give you the will to go back, the respect to say,
Mm.
you got this talent. You got to overcome that. You can't do it at 60, and you're going to pull it off. And I did, with the support of a lot of people cheering me on, which was
That's
great as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. And it is that. It's that thing I think sometimes too, when age, they say, oh, you gotta be this age. But I honestly feel like, we live in a time now that music is how we consume music is so different than how it was consumed way back when they were, when there was records. Now there's streaming. So music now we can consume through TikTok, through YouTube, through Spotify, it's pretty amazing. So I think you know, I always say it's never too late to start as long as you're alive and you have breath in your body, go for it. Yeah.
You ever been hurt by the very place that was supposed to heal you? Church Hurt by Meosha Bean is the raw, honest audiobook series everyone's talking about. A journey through real stories, unfiltered pain, and the power of healing through truth. It's not just another audiobook, it's a movement, it's therapy for the soul. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Bandcamp, iHeartRadio, and more. Just search Church Hurt by Meosha Bean. This isn't just a story, it's my story. It helped me forgive, but also speak my truth. I shared it with my group chat. Now they're all listening. You'll feel every word. You'll hear your own experience in someone else's voice. You'll be reminded you're not alone. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Start a conversation. Tag a friend. Post your favorite quote. Use the hashtag number ChurchHurtMeoshaBean and join the healing online. It's more than a story. It's a mirror. Are you ready to face it? Church Hurt by Meosha Bean. Start listening today.
I totally agree with that. And the nice thing about it allowed me to play different genres of my music, right? Everything's Beatle influence, but Will You Be Mine is a tribute to, like I said, the neighborhood and my sisters who love the Delphonics, the Dells, that Philly sound. And I purposely said, I'm going to go back and try to make a song that kind of reflects that from my style, from what I heard.
Nice.
And when Matt, I mean, when I recorded the music, I loved it, the bass line that I put in. And when Matt went in there and added that saxophone, I literally in the studio, the engineer I was crying and tears in my eyes.
Beautiful.
One, because I realized I was doing and finishing a dream, and it was just crazy beautiful. I was like, oh my God, what he put on that sound. I was like, oh, he took it to the next level. And I said, I hope that sound is appreciated, because I really wanted to honor that. And the other songs, it's just me in different areas, in different spaces, in different times.
Nice. You mentioned that the love for Beatles, of course, growing up. Do you see John Lennon's influence in your songwriting?
Sure. Without, without a doubt, especially the lyrics, when you think about life, it's kind of the question I was asked when I was a kid: what do you want to be in life? What do you want to do? And quite honestly, I was probably the one that didn't know what he wanted to do. Everyone's, I'm gonna be a nurse, I'm gonna go to college. I mean, what I really wanted to do was do music, but I never said it. I said it once to a priest, and I remember he says, well, Jimmy, you got to be for real. You got to go to college. And I'm like, okay, I'm never going to tell anybody I want to be famous. I want to write songs. And I never did.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at life, to capture that information or that experience in a few words, I look at that and I said, I think Lennon and McCartney would be happy, not only the song, but with the lyrics throughout the whole album, more or less. I mean, some songs are poppy, and I was, young and just trying to get a song out there. But a lot of songs, the lyrics behind it and the melodies are worthy of attention. I think when you listen to the songs, there's always a catch to the song. There's always a hook, and the lyrics are there along for the ride as well.
Yeah, I love that. If your life was a concept album, what would the title be, and what track would close it out?
Wow. The concept would be life is for living. Honestly.
Yeah.
I always tell people life is for living, and most people don't live, right? They're conditioned to do different things. But music has to be in there. My mission statement, and maybe this is a better way to say it, my mission statement that I made up in my 20s is create and play a melodious song of love with your life. And I've done that. And I think the song that would capture it would be my favorite song, really is The Memory, only because I made those words back in my 20s, but they're more real today. I go back to the neighborhood I grew up at, back of the yards, and I go back to the grammar school, and I do remember Vicky Barone, what I liked, and I wanted to kiss her. I go back to the park, Cornell Park, and wow, it did change. And I go back to the house I grew up in, and I do want to see my mom. And I think if you listen to that song, a lot of people, when they go back and they especially a neighborhood, I think New York reflects it. There's neighborhoods, or there's, I forgot what they call them in New York, but a neighborhood you grew up in, you can kind of say, oh yeah, I remember that. This is what we did. And I think that's it. And then really the verse saying, when I look back on my life, I remember how good it really was. And that's, I can say that. All my challenges, growing up with 10 kids, not having a lot, my love is great. My life has been great.
Yeah.
It still is great. And I have no necessarily regrets that would take me back. And I look at it and I'm like, I've been blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. What advice would you give to, that young boy, that young girl out there that's trying to get into the music industry?
Here's what I told Diego. I said, if you're going to do something, go ahead and do it. If it's not going to work out, who cares? You're going to learn from it. Don't do what I did. I listened to a priest saying, go to college, which took me 15 years to get my degree. When I had this talent, and I knew internally I had a talent back then that was at a high level, nobody else could see it. And I played music in a whole different way. I needed my pathway is where I needed to go, and I did. But I would tell somebody, go after it. What's the worst that can happen? You don't make it or you fail. But the greatest thing about it, you're going to have done it. You're going to know some of the things that you wouldn't have known had you not done it. And you're going to be a better person for it. And who knows, so you don't go back at it and figure out a new way to do what you want to do to get where you want to get. And along the way, people should be cheering you on so that whatever you do in the future, if it is not that particular thing, you may do it even better than you thought you ever could.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Where can people find you on social media to follow everything you have going on?
So what a great question. Up until this time, I wasn't on, and my daughter's like, Dad, you got to get on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm like, what? I go, I'm not even on Facebook. Dad, get with it. I mean, nobody's even on Facebook, but your ages are. So I'm on Facebook under Sifuentes. I'm on Instagram, I believe, as Sifuentes Arrives. And I'm starting to put my story on. I'll start that soon because I realize not only the music is beautiful, but the story along with it now, even when I hear myself talk about it, is meaningful, hopefully for people who are challenged with health issues that didn't think that they could still move forward. And I can say definitively, yes, you can. Despite whatever setbacks you have, despite whatever's going on, move forward and live in the moment as best as you can.
Yeah, love that. Thank you so much for coming on. It was such a pleasure to hear your story, and thank you for such great positive message of hope and resilience, because that's such a good reminder to be reminded, especially in this entertainment of that's so up and down, it's so all over the place. And sometimes we're not always full on. I think people only see the best pictures on social media, but they don't see the the hard work and the turmoil that we go through. So thank you for sharing that.
I want to thank you as well. I appreciate it. And so I wish all the best to you as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Level up your podcast game. Podcasters, want more revenue? Every download via Spreaker's website, app, or widget now earns you an extra 10% revenue boost. Help.Spreaker.com plus downloads rising, earnings meter increasing. That's 60% share on impressions plus 10% more for every on-platform download. Use the Spreaker app. Encourage your audience to use Spreaker and watch your earnings grow. Spreaker, reward your content. Download today, get paid more. Do what you love. Get rewarded.